Welcome to the deep dive. Here, we dig into some dense, really fascinating material and pull out the key insights for you. It's like a shortcut to understanding what really counts.
Right.
Today, we're taking a journey, you could say, right into the heart of Sufi mysticism.
Exactly. We're focusing on Muhyiddin Ibn Arabi's journey to the Lord of Power. It's basically a guide for spiritual retreat, which is called Khalwa.
Hmm.
And we're not just looking at Ibn Arabi's text itself. We also have commentary from Abdul Karim Jili, which is really illuminating, plus a great introduction by Sheikh Muzaffar Ozak al-Jarahi to sort of set the stage.
That's right. So we've got the translator's notes, Sheikh Muzaffar's intro, the main text from Ibn Arabi, and Jili's commentary, often in the footnotes. Our goal today is pretty straightforward. We want to get to the core of Ibn Arabi's ideas about the spiritual retreat.
Yeah, what's it for? What are the benefits?
Exactly. What does it aim for? What changes can it bring about? And crucially, what are the pitfalls? He warns about dangers, right? We'll explore all that using these texts.
And it's quite something. This text started as a letter to a friend.
Just a letter. Wow.
Yeah, offering a look into some really advanced Sufi practices, the kind designed to bring you directly into God's presence by essentially letting go of the world.
Okay, so to really get this, we probably need a bit of context on Ibn Arabi himself.
Definitely. He lived from 1165 to 1240. And this specific work, its original title was, let me get this right, Treatise on the Lights and the Secrets, Granted One Who Undertakes Retreat. Quite a mouthful.
Risalatul Anwar Fima Yumna Sahib al-Kalwa min al-Asrar.
Yeah. That's the one.
And it was edited, you mentioned, in Konya around 1204, 1205. It's amazing it survived in so many copies, sometimes under different names too, like Book of Journey and Reality.
Or Book of Retreat. And it's kind of remarkable. This is the first time it's actually been published in English.
Really? The first time?
The first time, yeah. And then there's Abdul Karim Jili. He came later, 1365 to 1408. His commentary adds so much depth.
And that's called Unveiling of Treatise on the Secrets Revealed to the People of Dikr.
Right, or sometimes Explanation of Absolute Retreat, Shar ul Khalwat il Mutlaq, and again, the selections we're using. Also the first time they've appeared in English.
It's incredible we have access to this now. And the origin story is fascinating. Ibn Arabi writing this because another Sufi master asked him about Khalwa, this deep retreat.
Yeah, and it dives right into this concept of fana, which is often translated as like annihilation in God.
Annihilation, that sounds intense.
It is. And it's important to remember, Ibn Arabi himself claimed he only wrote when he felt divinely compelled.
Which gives his words a certain weight, doesn't it?
Absolutely. So, okay, let's unpack Khalwa itself. Ibn Arabi presents it as, well, powerful, definitely advanced, but also risky. It's a Sufi practice aiming for nothing less than experiencing God's presence directly.
No.
Through a complete detachment from the world, an absolute abandonment.
Okay, and he's quite emphatic, isn't he, that this isn't just something you dabble in?
Oh, absolutely not. He warns very strongly that our own imagination can be incredibly deceptive. So Khalwa should only be done if a qualified sheikh, a spiritual guide, tells you to, or if you've already achieved, a really high degree of self-mastery. Otherwise, the risk of self-deception is just too high.
Right. And he pushes that further, saying you need the basics down first.
Yes, exactly. Anyone trying Khalwa without a solid footing in basic Islamic duties and practices, he says they're basically risking spiritual destruction.
Ooh.
Yeah. He points out that every single stage of the ascent he describes, each step up, can actually be a temptation, a point where you could go wrong, leading to, well, loss.
So it sounds like you need an incredibly strong motivation, like an overwhelming desire for God.
That's precisely it. He suggests only someone with that kind of overpowering desire, a longing that eclipses everything else, is really safe navigating these potentially treacherous paths.
And he connects this to the Prophet Muhammad.
He does. He draws a parallel with the Prophet's own intense retreats for contemplation in the cave on Mount Hira.
Ah, okay, so there's a precedent within the tradition.
A very powerful one. It
Yeah.
grounds the practice, and that spiritual ascent Ibn Arabi describes, reaching the divine presence. It also echoes the Prophet's night journey and ascension, the Mirage.
That idea of, like, instant travel across cosmic realms, it's almost beyond comprehension.
It really is. And Jili, the commentator, makes a really interesting distinction here.
Oh, yeah. What's that?
He says that while prophets receive that kind of gift, that ascension, without needing preparation, saints have to earn it.
Earn it how?
Through intense effort, perfecting both the inner and outer aspects of Islam, which signifies, complete submission to God.
That really draws a line between prophetic experience and what a saint might achieve.
It does. And Ibn Arabi himself talks about this. He says, revelation, the knowledge you receive, corresponds to the kind and amount of knowledge you've gained through your own struggle and training.
So it's a journey from knowing about something ill to seeing it directly.
Exactly, from intellectual knowledge to experiential vision. But the core truth remains the same.
Okay, so how does Ibn Arabi lay out this journey? What's the map, so to speak?
He starts with a kind of overview, 3 main phases. The journey to God, then arriving in his presence, and then, crucially, returning to creation.
Returning. Why return?
Well, returning without any sense of separation from him. It's grounded in the core idea that ultimately only God, his attributes and his actions truly exist. Everything else is, in a way, a manifestation.
That's a profound concept. He also mentions God's light being like a veil.
Yes, it's this idea that the light itself, the means of manifestation, is so intense that it can overwhelm us, paradoxically acting like a veil. Profound closeness perceived as a barrier. It's quite a thought.
Definitely. So does he break the journey down further?
He does. He talks about the nature of the journey itself, then the process of arriving and standing before him, then the return, and also absorption, being absorbed in God.
And absorption is different from return.
He clarifies it's actually a lesser or perhaps less complete station than the return.
Interesting. Okay, so is there just one path, one way to do this?
He says the way of truth is fundamentally single. But, and this is key, how it looks and feels varies greatly from person to person.
Based on what?
Based on the seeker's conditions. Things like their constitution, their motivation, their spiritual makeup, their aspiration, their relationship to the goal itself. It's very individualized.
So my journey wouldn't necessarily look like yours, even if the goal is the same.
Exactly. Someone might be naturally suited, while another might face, say, physical challenges, even with sincere spiritual effort. He acknowledges these differences.
Right. Now, he introduces this idea of realms, Mobotin. What are those exactly?
Think of them as like foundational layers or contexts where existence and experience happen. Moments, almost. He says there are 6 primary ones that everything else stems from.
6 primary realms. Does he list them?
He does, briefly. There's a pre-existence where we acknowledge God, then this world we're in now, an intermediary realm after death, the resurrection, then paradise and hell, and finally a place called the sand dune beyond paradise. And he adds that each realm contains more layers within it. It's complex, ultimately beyond our full grasp.
But for this journey, which realm is most important?
He says we need to focus mainly on this world, the realm of this world, because this is the place of responsibility, of trials, of our actions, our works.
And he frames us as travelers.
Constantly. From the moment we're created, we're travelers. Our only real destinations, he says, are the garden or the fire.
So don't get too comfortable here.
That's the strong message. He cautions against seeking ease in this temporary world and urges anyone inclined towards the spiritual path to hasten their contemplation.
And he brings up fauna again, annihilation.
Yes, but clarifies it's not just vanishing. It's more like abandoning a lower station for a higher one. A transformation, a shift in being and perspective.
Okay, going back to the practicalities. What's the absolute first step?
Foundational knowledge and practice. He's very clear. Mastering things like ablution, prayer, fasting, having reverence. That's the first door.
The basics.
The absolute basics. Then come work, moral awareness, asceticism, and trust in God. He even mentions that at this early stage of developing trust, a seeker might witness 4 specific miracles.
Miracles.
As signs, yeah, signs of progress. But then comes another really critical warning.
Let me guess about jumping in too soon.
Exactly. Don't enter retreat without understanding your station, where you currently stand spiritually, and crucially, understand the power and potential deception of your own imagination.
And if your imagination is running wild,
Then you absolutely need a discerning sheikh, a guide. He insists on it. Only if you have some mastery over your imagination should you consider entering retreat without that direct guidance.
the preparation sounds intense even before the retreat starts.
It is. He talks about riyada, spiritual discipline.
Uh,
This involves training your character, actively letting go of heedlessness, even learning to endure insults without reacting negatively.
that sounds tough.
It is. He argues that without this inner work beforehand, real spiritual progress in retreat is unlikely.
And withdrawal isn't just physical isolation.
No, not at all. That's a key point. You need to withdraw mentally and emotionally, too, especially from people's superfluous words, the unnecessary chatter.
Clear the inner space.
Precisely. He's quite critical, actually, of those who retreat physically, but then still entertain visitors. He questions their motives, suggesting it might be more about seeking status than seeking God.
Ouch. So what commitments does someone make when they do undertake retreat properly?
He outlines two main covenants, or agreements.
Hmm.
First, seek only God. Don't attach your heart's intention, your hema, that deep focus, to anything else.
What if worldly things come your way?
Receive them gracefully, he says, but don't dwell on them. They might be tests.
Okay, that's the first covenant. The second.
It's about how you handle the unveilings, the spiritual experiences or insights that might happen during the retreat.
Ah, the visions and so on.
Exactly. He frames these as tests from God. You might get insights into the secrets of the mineral world, the vegetal, the animal.
It sounds like peeling back layers of reality.
It does. He lists possibilities. Experiencing the infusion of life force, seeing surface signs, perceiving the light of stars, understanding the form of the universal order, grasping speculative sciences.
It goes on.
Oh, yes.
Hmm?
The world of formation and beauty, understanding the degrees or levels of the quater. The spiritual pole of the world glimpses into realms of intense spiritual states like fever and rage, or jealousy, or dignity and serenity, even bewilderment.
Wow, a whole spectrum.
And then even seeing a light where only you seem to exist, seeing the original forms of humanity, perceiving the throne of mercy, the pen which represents the first intellect, and even the mover of the pen.
That's incredibly profound. Where does it lead ultimately?
He describes stages of ultimate transformation with words like eradication, withdrawal, effacement, crushing, obliteration. Very powerful.
Sounds like a complete stripping away.
Followed by affirmation, being made present, remaining, being gathered, and being assigned a spiritual function, often symbolized by being given robes of honor.
So what happens when someone reaches the destination?
He calls them the Waqif, the one who stops, who has arrived. This category includes those who become completely absorbed in God, the Mustalikun.
Lost in God, essentially.
Yes, but it also includes those who are sent back, the Martyrdor.
Sent back into the world.
Yes, and interestingly, he suggests these returners might actually hold a higher or more beneficial station.
Because they bring that connection back.
Perhaps. He then talks about the inheritors of the prophets. Different saints connect to the specific spiritual language or quality of different prophets.
Like inheriting a specific aspect of the divine message.
Exactly. But the perfected one, Muhammad, is seen as the trustee of the collectivity of all those divine words or aspects.
Okay. And how do saints relate to prophets more generally?
He points out similarities. Gaining knowledge without conventional learning, being able to act through this power of intention, himma, in extraordinary ways, seeing into the imaginal world even while in the sensory one.
But there's a difference.
The key difference is in their role of addressing and guiding humanity publicly. Also, crucially, Ibn Arabi states that the spiritual ascents of saints, however high, don't equal those of prophets.
Why not?
Because prophets ascend through the fundamental divine light itself, whereas saints ascend through what is granted by that light. It's a different order of experience.
And saints receive through their prophet.
Yes. Every saint receives spiritual influx through the mediation of the specific prophet whose path they follow. The Qutb, however, has a direct link to the heart of Muhammad.
So Muhammad is central.
Absolutely central. Ibn Arabi says he is the one who gave all prophets their stations in the world of spirits, and all subsequent spiritual inheritance flows through him. It connects to that hadith, comparing the knowers of the Muslim community to the prophets of Israel.
Right. Now, he also talks about the moment walked. What's the significance of that?
This is critical. It's about being present and responding appropriately to whatever condition or situation arises. The goal is to strive for your moment, your present awareness, to be attuned to God's breath, so to speak.
And being too focused on your own progress can be a problem.
He suggests it can. Focusing only on your personal elevation might actually indicate a narrowness in your understanding of the moment, a smallness of knowledge. He even warns that being heedless of your breaths, of the present, leads to losing your spiritual power over time.
That's a powerful reminder about presence. And intention, himma, comes up again.
Yes, regarding seeking knowledge and performing religious duties, your intention is vital. But he also warns again, seeking beyond basic worship, aiming for these higher states without the necessary preparation and foundation. It just won't bear fruit.
So you can't shortcut the process.
No. And the person who finally attains the goal, who reaches that understanding, has this realization: it is not proper other than thus.
Meaning.
Meaning they see the perfection and rightness of God's unfolding plan. It comes from the sheer astonishment at the veils being lifted, seeing the infinite aspects of God, the apparent one. This leads not to satisfaction, but to a continuous, unquenchable thirst for more knowledge, recognizing that revelation is endless.
Wow. So pulling this all together, Ibn Arabi's journey to the Lord of Power. It's describing this incredibly demanding, potentially perilous, but ultimately transformative path of spiritual retreat.
Absolutely. It's aimed at achieving this profound intimacy with the divine. But the emphasis is heavily on the need for thorough preparation, the vital role of guidance, either from a sheikh or deep self-mastery, and acknowledging the challenges inherent in the journey.
It's definitely not a casual undertaking. This deep dive gives you, our listener, a real window into a very rich, very complex spiritual tradition. Some quite surprising insights there about chasing divine knowledge and closeness.
Definitely surprising and deeply thought-provoking.
So here's something to maybe mull over. What does it truly mean for you to abandon the world in your own context, whatever that might be? And do any of those stages of unveiling Ibn Arabi describe those glimpses into deeper realities? Do they resonate at all with your own search for knowledge or understanding, maybe in a metaphorical way?
It's worth thinking about the power of intention, isn't it? And the role of imagination, both creative and deceptive. And ultimately, what is the real aim when we seek truth?
Lots to reflect on there.
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive.